Toward the start of the film, a kid named Michel Silenzi, cycling to his school in Trieste, Italy, he has a money in his hands which he intends to buy a costume for a party. At school, he sits close to his long-lasting crush, Stella. Their class is interfered with by a cop named Giovanna, who likewise is Michel's mom. She is there to ask about a student's missing. Giovanna demands the class to illuminate the police on the off chance that they hear from the missing student. After she leaves, Michel's nose begins to bleed, so he hurries to the washroom. His bullies, who have been bullying him for quite a while, undermine him into giving them all his cash. He returns home, debilitated by the occurrence. He takes out a couple of pennies he had saved and chooses to get one with the cash. Michel then visits a second-hand looking store and requests a superhuman outfit. The seller gives him a skin-tight by and large and a junkie cape. He claims that it is the suit of a Chinese hero. Michel doesn't appear to be partial to the outfit yet gets it. When Giovanna gets back after working all day, she sees Michel in his outfit declining to show up for the party. Since he assumes he looks dumb, she consoles him that he looks great and sends him to the party. There, Michel has fun and even discussions to his crush Stella. However, at that point, his harassers play a video of Stella strolling through the road, and tell them that the video was viewed as on Michel's telephone and that he has been following Stella. A humiliated Michel races to the washroom also, secures himself. Every one of his schoolmates bang on the door from outside, telling him open it. Michel is disappointed and wishes that he was invisible just before the lights go out. Next we see Michel as leap out of the washroom window and return home. The following morning, Michel awakens to his dog woofing at him. He doesn't give him much attention and goes to the washroom to clean his teeth. When he checked the mirror, Michel is past stunned to see simply his robe and the brush. His body is imperceptible in the mirror. Michel surges out and takes his robe off. All at once, his mom strolls in and totally disregards the kid, demonstrating that as it were Michel can see himself. When she begins glancing around, Michel rapidly thinks that he has gone to school from the get-go a paper and puts it on the bed. Giovanna understands it and excuses the matter. Subsequent to leaving the room, she calls Michel on his telephone. An invisible Michel gets it and tells her that he is fine. Confounded about what he ought to do straight away, he dresses up in lengthy sleeved clothes. Subsequent to covering all aspects of his body, he goes to class and watches Stella from a remote place. Michel then sees his bully and plans to show him a thing or two for disturbing him to such an extent. He takes his clothes off and strolls inside the school stripped and invisible. During class, he gets the bully's paintball gun and utilizations it on the teacher, causing the teacher to suspend the bully. Then, Michel advances toward the girls' changing room and watches them strip down. Out of nowhere, a towel lands on him, making his outline obvious to everybody. Right then, his powers begin to blur, making him apparent once more. The girls shout as they see an exposed Michel under the towel. The following day, Michel is in his group, where a psychology Bossily is giving a talk about youngsters' psychological well-being. Two of Michel's colleagues have taken off from home in the previous month, so he thinks it is important to comprehend youngsters' perspective. As Michel stands by listening to the talk, his hands begin to glow, and unexpectedly, they vanish. Fortunately, the class is finished and he runs out before anybody can see him vanish. He surges home, covering all pieces of his body, and sees his younger sister Candela in his room. Michel tells her to go down the stairs while facing the wall. A dubious Candela opens and shuts the door to cause it to seem like she has left. Michel doesn't pivot to check and begins to take his clothes off. When he pivots, Candela shouts in dread. It is invisible to see her brother. Michel calms her down and tells her that his costume has given him superpowers. In the interim, at the police station, the psychiatrist Bossily works with Giovanna to explore the missing kids. Giovanna demands that the youngsters may be abducted, yet Bossily contends they are simply being defiant, which is typical for their age. When Giovanna gets back, Michel is as yet invisible. Giovanna converses with somebody on the telephone. It is on uncover that Michel is adopted. A shocked and hurt Michel leaves the house to a close-by swing. While he is swinging, Stella shows up there and thinks Michel is a phantom. She doesn't appear to be terrified and rather requests that he be her friend. He makes a grinning face on the sand to speak with her. The two choose to meet once more after Stella leaves. Michel sees a man close by gazing at him. Despite that he is invisible, the man leaves utilizing a stick. It is incognizant in regards to uncover that he, around evening time, Michel visits Stella's home. Stella is happy to have made an invisible friend. The two kiss, however right then, Michel's powers begin to blur and takes off before Stella can see his face. Afterward, Stella is in her gymnastic class alone when a needle strikes her back. It makes her drop oblivious. Somewhere else Michel has chosen to tell Stella regarding him being the invisible boy. He goes toward her gymnastic class with his dog. When he arrives at the building, he sees a masked man taking Stella. Michel assaults the man and the dog bites his hand. Notwithstanding, the man figures out how to escape with the girl. Afterward, the police show up at the place. They figure that the missing kids weren't taking off, however have been kidnapped. Stella awakens in an wired building with her go to a few wires, and psychiatrist Vasily is there interrogating her. It ends up that he is the person who has been kidnapping the youngsters. They run a few tests on the girl furthermore, send her to a cell. Two of her friends who had disappeared before her are there as well. The next day, Michelle is separated from everyone else at a close-by beach side when out of nowhere, the blind man from the earlier day shows up before him. All the man addresses Michelle's inquiries before he can ask them think he can read his minds. When Michelle asks him what his identity is, that's what the man uncovers. He goes by Andrzej and he is Michelle's dad. The kid doesn't trust Andrzej and accuses him of lying. Andrzej then starts to recount his story. He used to be a typical man from an unassuming community in Russia until an overwhelming atomic blast hit the town. The radiation killed many individuals furthermore, rolled out a long-lasting improvement in others. It made their DNA change, giving them extraordinary superhuman abilities like flying, clairvoyance, being undetectable, etc. These people were called the Specials and were brought to an army camp called the Division to be utilized as weapons. The Division utilized them past their ability, and more power the Specials utilized, the more fragile they got. Another side effect was that everybody was barren, aside from Andrzej and Michelle's mother. Thus, it was difficult to raise new Specials. The two brought forth Michelle, who was the first extraordinary child, yet when he was conceived they removed him. In this way, the parents chose to took off with Michelle and were fruitful. However, people from the Division weren't going to withdraw. They sought after the couple to bring the child back. Michelle's dad had the ability to read people's brains, while his mom had the ability to be invisible. Andrzej figured out how to take off with Michelle, yet his wife was killed by the Division. Andrzej realized Michelle wasn't safe with him, so he put him before Giovanna's door subsequent to reading what she might be thinking and affirming she was a decent person. Presently, people of the Division have figured out that the extraordinary child lives in the town, so they are kidnapping kids and testing them to check whether they are extraordinary. After paying attention to his actual situation, Michelle is stunned and doesn't believe it, yet Andrzej says that they do not have a lot of chance to talk since the fisherman next to them thinks Andrzej is dubious and has called the police. Andrzej hands Michelle a suit that turns invisible alongside his body. He then eliminates the fisherman's memory and leaves. The police show up in practically no time alongside Vasily. Giovanna uncovers to him that Michelle is adopted, which causes Vasily to accept that he may be the unique child. He offers to bring Michelle back home. When they arrive at home, Michelle sees Vasily's hand injury, which is at the specific spot his dog had bitten Stella's kidnapper. He takes a gander at the man dubiously and has a go at taking off. It just so happens Vasily has locked all the doors and is intending to abduct him. Michelle runs into a room and removes his clothes, turning invisible. He figures out how to escape while Vasily follows him. When they are in the city, Michelle sees his bully Ivan on his bicycle and he sits behind him and tells him drive away rapidly. An anxious Ivan obliges. When they arrive at a safe place, Michelle uncovers himself to Ivan and tells him about their colleague's abduction. In the interim, Stella and her friends see ventilation on the roof. They hop on one another, and Stella figures out how to step outside while stowing away from guards. She climbs a tower and arrives at a looking for light. Accepting that her invisible friend is searching for her, she makes a grinning face on the light and flashes it up to the sky. Michelle sees the grinning face and understands that Stella is attempting to indicate them. He and Ivan follow the light, yet when they arrive, Stella is gotten by the guards. Ivan causes an electric glitch utilizing his paintball gun as an invisible Michelle heads inside. He sees Vasily and his men observing Giovanna and Andrzej, who have held hands to search for Michelle. He then goes further in and takes out the guard. Utilizing his weapon, he compromises the other guard to open the cell where Stella and the others are held. After getting them out and putting the guards inside, Michelle uncovers himself to his friends, who are past astounded. The young men need to take off, yet Stella demands they save an elderly person who she had seen locked in another room. She and Michelle go to save the man, yet Stella takes him to the villains rather point a weapon at Michelle. She out of nowhere falls oblivious. What's more, the elderly man behind her beginnings talking. Incidentally, he has the power of brain control. He has been controlling Vasily and Stella to get Michelle here. He then cuts down a submarine and places Michelle and Stella in it. The men bring the two into the sea. All at once, Andrzej and Giovanna show up at the area and meet Ivan. The building has been set to explode shortly. They rapidly save the two abducted kids and Vasily from inside. Andrzej reads what Vasily might be thinking and understands that somebody was controlling him. They rapidly get away from the building, which explodes in pieces just later. Back in the submarine, Michelle finds his supernatural power and starts destroying the area. Utilizing his powers, he figures out how to kill the man and save himself and Stella. They at last return to the shore, where many people are waiting for them, and Michelle goes invisible before them, displaying his power. Andrzej lets Michael know that they should eliminate everybody's memories since Division will come searching for them in the future. Michelle obliges and kisses Stella once and for all. Andrzej tells Michelle he will be back and leaves subsequent to erasing everybody's memories. Everybody then gets back to their ordinary life. Next, in some place in Russia, Michelle's mom, who was believed to be dead and was just injured in the experience. She had crushed the division in those days. What's more, is presently controlling it. As a matter of fact, she was the person who sent those people to return Michelle once again to her. The woman is currently against all the normal people who view at them as though they are monstrosities. Finally, the guard illuminates her that although they lost Michelle, they have tracked down his twin sister Natasha. A clasp of the previous shows us that Andrzej took off with 2 kids that day. The film closes as the guard lets Michelle's mom know that Natasha is someplace in Morocco, implying towards a continuation. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.